Welcome back to Quasarianth, the podcast that takes you on a journey through the multiverse. Today, we bring you the final chapter of our thrilling new adventure, The Last Stand. The characters make a last-ditch effort to defend the space station from the Zorax onslaught. With the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance, the characters must put aside their differences and work together to mount a counterattack against the enemy. The stakes are high, and not everyone will make it out alive. It's a battle for survival, and the outcome will determine the future of the galaxy. Tarkus stands before the assembled troops, his armor gleaming in the harsh light of the space station's command center. The other characters stand at his side, their expressions grim and determined. The room is filled with the low murmur of whispered conversations, punctuated by the occasional metallic clang of armor being adjusted. "We've been fighting this war for too long," Tarkus begins, his voice ringing out clearly over the noise of the room. "Too many good soldiers have given their lives to stop the Zorax, and we can't let their sacrifices be in vain. Today, we end this once and for all." The room erupts into cheers and applause, and Tarkus raises his hand for silence. "We know the Zorax are powerful," he continues, "but we are stronger. We have something they don't, the power of unity. We fight not just for ourselves, but for each other. We fight for the memory of those who have fallen. And we fight for the future of the galaxy." The troops roar their approval, and Tarkus nods, satisfied. "Today, we take the fight to the Zorax," he says. "We fight with honor, and we fight with courage. Let's show them what we are made of." With that, the characters begin to prepare for the final battle. They check and recheck their equipment, testing their weapons and armor. The tension in the room is palpable, but so is the determination. As the characters file out of the command center and make their way towards the loading docks, they exchange nods of encouragement and support. This is it, the moment they've been training for, the moment that will define their legacy. As the airlock opens, the characters can see the Zorax ships looming in the distance. They can hear the chatter of enemy communications, and the distant sound of weapons fire. But they don't falter. They step forward, together, ready to face whatever comes their way. The battle is fierce and intense, with both sides taking heavy losses. But the characters fight with a fierce determination, pushing through the enemy lines and striking at the heart of the Zorax forces. Finally, after what seems like hours of fighting, the tide of the battle turns. The Zorax begin to retreat, and the characters press their advantage. They pursue the enemy to their last stronghold, fighting their way through the enemy defenses and finally breaching the enemy command center. Inside, they confront the Zorax leader, a towering figure clad in armor. The battle is fierce, but the characters fight with everything they have. Finally, after a brutal struggle, they manage to strike the killing blow. As the Zorax leader falls, the enemy troops surrender. The battle is won, and the characters stand victorious. There are no cheers or celebrations, only the sound of heavy breathing and the occasional groan of pain. But the characters stand together, their bond stronger than ever. They have fought, and they have won. And in that moment, they know that they can overcome anything. The Zorax forces launch a massive assault on the space station, their ships descending from the skies like a dark cloud. Tarkus and his team of soldiers brace themselves for the impending battle, preparing their weapons and taking up defensive positions. The Zorax forces land on the station's surface, and the characters engage in a fierce battle. Laser fire and explosions echo through the station's corridors as the characters fight to hold the line against the enemy. The Zorax are relentless, and the characters are pushed to their limits as wave after wave of enemy soldiers descend upon them. The characters fight bravely, using their training and tactics to outsmart and outmaneuver the enemy. The battle takes its toll, with casualties mounting on both sides. The characters watch as their friends and fellow soldiers fall in battle, but they do not falter. They know that the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance, and they fight with all their strength and determination. As the battle rages on, the characters begin to gain the upper hand. They coordinate their attacks and use their knowledge of the space station's layout to outmaneuver the enemy. Slowly but surely, they begin to push the Zorax forces back. Finally, after what seems like hours of fighting, the characters emerge victorious. The last of the Zorax forces are routed, and the characters stand amid the smoking ruins of the space station, victorious but exhausted. Tarkus surveys the battlefield, his eyes lingering on the fallen soldiers. He feels a deep sense of sadness at their loss, but he knows that they did not die in vain. Their sacrifice ensured the safety of the galaxy, and Tarkus is proud to have fought alongside them. The characters take a moment to catch their breath and tend to their wounded. But they know that their work is not yet done. They must remain vigilant, for the Zorax may strike again. But for now, they can take solace in the fact that they have won this battle and brought peace to the galaxy, at least for the time being. The Zorax make significant advancements, and the characters begin to struggle. They are pushed back and forced to retreat. Provide long narrative. The characters are overwhelmed by the Zorax forces, and they are forced to fall back. They regroup in a safe location and assess the situation. Tarkus realizes that they cannot win this battle through sheer force, and decides to come up with a new strategy. He gathers the characters and explains that they need to focus on taking out the Zorax's key targets, such as their communication systems and supply lines. He assigns different teams to different tasks and sends them out to execute the plan. One team, led by Tarkus himself, sneaks behind enemy lines and destroys the communication systems, cutting off the Zorax's ability to coordinate their attacks. Another team, led by General Gornak, sabotages the Zorax's supply lines, depriving them of essential resources. The characters successfully carry out their missions, and the tide of the battle begins to turn in their favor. The Zorax forces become disorganized and demoralized, and the characters take advantage of the situation. They launch a counterattack and manage to reclaim the lost ground. The characters fight valiantly, and with their new strategy, they are able to push the Zorax back and secure a decisive victory. As the battle draws to a close, the characters are exhausted and wounded, but they are also relieved and grateful for their victory. Tarkus thanks everyone for their bravery and sacrifices, and they all take a moment to honor those who were lost in the battle. With the Zorax forces defeated and the galaxy safe once again, the characters celebrate their victory and take some time to rest and recover. However, they know that there will always be new threats and challenges to face, and they remain vigilant and prepared for whatever the future may hold. Tarkus quickly formulates a new plan, realizing that their previous tactics were no longer effective against the Zorax's new approach. He divides the remaining soldiers into smaller teams, each with a specific objective to disrupt the enemy's advance. One team, led by Tarkus himself, heads straight into the heart of the Zorax formation. They draw the attention of the enemy's most formidable fighters, engaging them in hand-to-hand combat while avoiding their deadly energy weapons. Another team, led by Sergeant Ramirez, sneaks behind enemy lines to take out the Zorax's key weapon systems. They set up explosives and use their skills to disable the enemy's shields and disable their ships. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Kira and her team use their superior agility and stealth to infiltrate the Zorax command center. They cause chaos and confusion, taking out key personnel and disabling the enemy's communication systems. Despite being outnumbered, the characters' new tactics prove to be effective. The Zorax are caught off guard, and their advance is halted. The characters fight fiercely, relying on their training and teamwork to overcome the enemy. As the battle intensifies, the characters push harder, taking out more and more Zorax soldiers. The sound of blasters and energy weapons fills the air, and the characters begin to see glimpses of hope. Finally, the Zorax retreat, their forces decimated by the characters' coordinated attacks. The characters let out a triumphant cheer as they stand amidst the wreckage of the Zorax's failed invasion. Tarkus leads the characters in a victorious march back to the space station, where they are greeted with cheers and congratulations from their comrades. The war is not over yet, but the characters know that they have won a significant battle against the Zorax, and they are more united than ever. The revelation of the traitor in their midst is a heavy blow to the characters, as they had trusted each other with their lives. Tarkus orders an immediate investigation to determine the extent of the traitor's actions and whether there are any other collaborators. The characters are divided in their reactions to the news. Some are angry and want to seek revenge, while others are devastated and feel betrayed. Tensions run high, and Tarkus must work hard to keep the group together and focused on the mission. The investigators soon discover the full extent of the traitor's actions. They had been providing the Zorax with information about the characters' movements and plans, as well as sabotaging their equipment and weapons. The traitor's actions had caused many of the setbacks and losses that the characters had suffered in the battle. Tarkus and the other leaders make the difficult decision to keep the traitor's identity a secret from the rest of the characters. They fear that revealing the traitor's identity would cause further divisions and compromise the success of their mission. The characters continue to fight the Zorax, but now with the added challenge of dealing with the traitor's actions. They must constantly second-guess their plans and tactics, unsure of who they can trust. Despite this, they are determined to press on and defeat the Zorax once and for all. In a climactic battle, the characters face off against the Zorax leader, Captain Zorax himself. They are able to overcome his army with their combined efforts, but the traitor's actions still cause problems. At a critical moment, the traitor is revealed to the characters, who are shocked and enraged. The traitor tries to defend their actions, claiming that they had been forced to work with the Zorax to protect their family. But their words fall on deaf ears, and the characters quickly capture and imprison them. The characters are victorious in the battle, but the cost of the traitor's actions is not lost on them. They mourn the loss of trust and the betrayal they have experienced. However, they also recognize that they have become stronger and more united in the face of this challenge. The chapter ends with the characters resolving to continue fighting for their cause, and to remain vigilant against future betrayals. They may have lost a comrade, but they have gained a stronger sense of unity and purpose. The characters push forward with their coordinated attack, striking at the Zorax from multiple directions. Despite the traitor's sabotage, they manage to make significant progress and regain lost ground. Tarkus and his team fight bravely, leading the charge and inspiring the other characters to push harder. As they fight, the characters notice that the Zorax are becoming more disorganized and less coordinated in their attacks. They realize that the Zorax leader, Captain Zorax, must have been killed in an earlier skirmish. This realization gives the characters renewed hope and strength to keep fighting. The Zorax make a final push to break through the characters' defenses, but the characters stand firm. They fight back with all their might, refusing to back down. The battle is fierce and chaotic, with laser fire and explosions ringing through the air. Finally, the characters manage to gain the upper hand. They push the Zorax back and make a final, decisive strike. The Zorax are defeated, and the characters stand victorious. The characters breathe a sigh of relief as the dust settles. They are battered and bruised, but they have emerged victorious against all odds. They take a moment to honor the fallen, and to celebrate their hard-won victory. As the characters regroup and begin to assess the damage, they realize that the war is not yet over. There will be more battles to fight, more enemies to face. But for now, they savor their hard-won victory and prepare to face whatever comes next with strength and determination. Tarkus stood at the front line of the battle, his sword in hand as he fought back the Zorax soldiers. The sounds of gunfire and explosions filled the air, and the ground shook beneath his feet. Tarkus could see the exhaustion on the faces of his comrades, but he knew that they had to keep fighting. A Zorax soldier charged, towards Tarkus, his weapon raised high. Tarkus parried the attack and lunged forward, driving his sword through the enemy's chest. He withdrew his sword just in time to block another attack from behind. The battle raged on, and the characters were pushed back further and further. Tarkus knew that they couldn't hold out much longer. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, Tarkus spotted an opportunity. He shouted to his comrades, "We need to make a push. Follow me." Tarkus and a group of characters broke off from the main group and charged towards the Zorax's command center. They fought their way through waves of Zorax soldiers, taking down anyone who stood in their way. As they approached the command center, they were met with heavy resistance. The Zorax had concentrated their forces here, and the characters were outnumbered and outgunned. Tarkus knew that they had to take out the command center if they had any chance of winning the battle. He rallied his comrades and charged towards the command center, ignoring the hail of gunfire coming their way. They managed to breach the command center and engaged in a fierce battle with the Zorax commanders. Tarkus fought with all his might, taking down enemy after enemy. Finally, Tarkus faced off against the Zorax leader himself. The two engaged in a deadly duel, their swords clashing as they fought for supremacy. Tarkus could feel his strength waning, but he refused to give up. He dug deep and pushed forward, finally landing a decisive blow that ended the Zorax leader's life. With their leader gone, the Zorax army fell into chaos. The remaining Zorax soldiers fled the space station, leaving the characters to claim victory. Tarkus collapsed to the ground, exhausted and wounded. He looked around at his comrades, many of whom were also injured and struggling to stand. But they had done it. They had won the final battle against the Zorax. Tarkus grinned through the pain, feeling a sense of pride and relief wash over him. The galaxy was safe, for now. As the battle rages on, it becomes clear that the characters are outnumbered and outgunned. The Zorax are relentless, and the characters are struggling to keep up. Despite their best efforts, they are slowly losing ground. In the midst of the chaos, one of the characters, a young woman named Maya, realizes that the only way to turn the tide of the battle is to make a sacrifice. She knows that her actions could mean the difference between victory and defeat, and she is willing to do whatever it takes to save her friends and colleagues. With a heavy heart, Maya breaks away from the group and heads towards the Zorax stronghold. She knows that her actions will draw the attention of the enemy, but she is determined to see her plan through to the end. As she approaches the stronghold, Maya sets off a series of explosives that she had smuggled in earlier. The explosions rock the space station, and the Zorax are caught off guard. Maya is caught in the blast, and she knows that she will not survive. As the smoke clears, the characters see the devastation that Maya's sacrifice has wrought. The Zorax are in disarray, and the characters are able to push forward and claim victory. The loss of Maya is felt deeply by everyone. She was a beloved member of the team, and her sacrifice will not be forgotten. The characters mourn her passing, but they know that they must continue to fight in her memory. In the aftermath of the battle, the characters reflect on Maya's sacrifice and the impact it had on the mission. They vow to honor her memory by continuing to fight for what is right, and to never forget the sacrifice that she made. After a long and grueling battle, the characters finally emerge victorious. The Zorax are driven back, and the space station is saved. The characters let out a collective cheer, but the celebration is bittersweet, as they mourn the loss of their fallen comrade. Tarkus gathers the remaining characters together, and they share a moment of reflection. They think about all that they have been through together, and the sacrifices that have been made along the way. The characters take a moment to honor their fallen comrade, and Tarkus delivers a heartfelt speech about the bravery and sacrifice that was shown on the battlefield. The characters join hands and bow their heads in a moment of silence. As the sun rises over the space station, the characters begin to rebuild and repair the damage that was done during the battle. They work together, and there is a sense of unity among them that was not present before. As the repairs are completed, the characters take a moment to celebrate. They share stories and laughter, and there is a sense of camaraderie among them that is stronger than ever before. Tarkus approaches the characters, a small smile on his face. "I couldn't have done it without you all," he says, his voice filled with gratitude. "We may have won this battle, but there will always be more challenges ahead. And I know that together, we can face anything." The characters nod in agreement, and there is a renewed sense of determination among them. They know that the galaxy will always be a dangerous place, but they are ready to face whatever challenges come their way. The characters stand in the aftermath of the battle, surveying the damage and taking stock of the losses. They mourn the fallen, paying their respects to those who made the ultimate sacrifice for the cause. Tarkus speaks to the group, acknowledging the cost of victory. "We have lost many brave souls in this war, but they did not die in vain," he says, his voice solemn but resolute. "We have defended our galaxy against a great threat, and we have emerged victorious." The characters nod in agreement, some wiping away tears or holding each other in consolation. They begin the process of rebuilding, repairing the damage done to the space station and tending to the wounded. As they work, they talk about the future. Some plan to retire from their roles as soldiers and return to their families, while others feel that they must remain vigilant in case the Zorax ever try to regroup and strike again. "I don't think we can ever truly let our guard down," says one of the characters, a hint of weariness in their voice. "There will always be someone out there who wants to do us harm." Tarkus nods in agreement. "We will need to remain vigilant," he says. "But for now, let us celebrate our victory and honor those we have lost." The characters continue their work, but also take time to celebrate their hard-won victory. They hold a memorial service for the fallen, sharing stories and memories of their lost comrades. They also hold a feast to honor the living, a time to relax and enjoy each other's company after the stress and danger of the war. As the celebration draws to a close, Tarkus takes a moment to address the group one last time. We have proven that we can overcome any challenge when we stand together, he says. Let us remember that as we move forward, no matter what the future holds. The characters nod in agreement, feeling a renewed sense of camaraderie and purpose. They know that the war has changed them, but they are ready to face whatever comes next, together. As the dust settles and the characters take stock of the aftermath of the war, a sense of exhaustion and loss settles over them. The battles have been long and hard fought, and the sacrifices made have been great. The characters mourn their fallen comrades, remembering their bravery and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. As the characters begin to rebuild, they find themselves facing new challenges. The war may be over, but the galaxy is still a dangerous place. They must work to maintain the peace they have fought so hard to achieve, and to prevent any new threats from emerging. In the aftermath of the war, the characters find themselves struggling to come to terms with their experiences. Many are haunted by memories of the battles they fought, and the loss of their friends and allies. Some struggle with feelings of guilt and regret, wondering if there was more they could have done to prevent the tragedies that occurred. Despite the challenges they face, the characters are determined to honor the sacrifices made by their fallen comrades. They vow to continue their fight for justice and peace, and to never forget the bravery and determination of those who gave their lives for the cause. As the chapter draws to a close, the characters reflect on the lessons they have learned throughout the war. They realize that the bonds they have formed with each other are stronger than any enemy they may face, and that working together is the key to success. The war may be over, but the characters know that their fight is far from finished. They stand ready to face any new challenges that may come their way, knowing that they have each other to rely on. With a renewed sense of purpose and determination, the characters look forward to the future, ready to face whatever may come their way.